Who am I talking with?
I'm Scott Kelly. I'm one of the co-founders of Community.lawyer.
And what does the company do?
So Community.lawyer, we actually have two products. The one we're here talking to the folks of Clio about is our app builder. So it's a tool that attorneys can use. They don't have to know how to code. They don't have to have technical experience, but they can build apps to do really powerful things. So they can build apps to automatically intake clients. They can build apps to automate whole bundles of documents and just generate those documents at a click of a button. And if they want to get really fancy, they can actually create apps that they can actually list on their own website, and people can self-serve from those apps. So like think of LegalZoom or TurboTax. They can sort of set up their own LegalZoom or TurboTax for their area of law.
Why do they want to build an app as opposed to just buy something off the shelf?
Yeah, so I mean, it depends. We see lots of different use cases. Right. For the DIY apps where attorneys can actually build something that clients can use and not actually use them as an attorney, it's a way to tap into a new market opportunity. So there might be consumers who, either because they don't have the ability to pay for full scope representation, or they they're sort of a online kind of person and they don't want to talk to another person, they just want to self-serve off of a website. They're not looking to hire a lawyer, they're looking to use an online product, and so lawyers can create those online products and go head-to-head with like a LegalZoom or a TurboTax. But then there's a lot of attorneys who use our system who just use it to speed up things internally. Right. So
it's going back, and I'm just curious, and I'll ask you questions more that are probably more interesting as to how you got started in this and whatnot. Yeah. But to the app and the delivery of this service, or whatever it might be, as far as legal services or not, are the lawyers charging per use? How do they charge? So they've got this app created, and now somebody wants to do you want to do it yourself, as opposed to come in, hire a lawyer and all that. How is the lawyer charging for that use of that app or that solution? Yeah,
so we see a lot of different ways that lawyers are monetizing these apps. So the most straightforward way would you just have a payment block, right in your app, where someone's going through, and at the end when they want to generate their document, they have to like type in their details, and they make a payment for using the app one time, right? You could also set up what we call kind of an app store, and people can pay to access that app store, and it can be a subscription. So it can be a monthly subscription. Maybe I have a set of employment apps that a small business can use to generate kind of the bread and butter documents they need to generate in a given month or quarter or year. They don't know when they're going to need to use them, but they just want to pay to access that on a subscription basis. The third way that lawyers can monetize is actually making it free, and then just using it as lead gen. Yeah. So that people go to the website, they click a button, and then they can get a consultation.
Why the name Community Lawyer? What's community? What's that mean?
Yeah, so Community Lawyer, we think that there's an extraordinary opportunity in legal to sort of harness communities of lawyers to allow them to share expertise, share referrals. So right now with our app builder, it's very easy for attorneys to actually share the apps that they built with other attorneys, so that those attorneys can then plug those apps into their own workflows. That's one of the things we were talking about our Clio integration. Right. We're working, for example, with one of the most sophisticated immigration law firms in the country, Siskin Susser. They're building a whole
friend.
Yeah, there you go. They're building a whole suite of apps on Community Lawyer. And now if I'm just a solo or small firm immigration attorney anywhere in the United States, I can actually subscribe to their apps, plug them directly into my Clio account, and harness the knowledge and the expertise of Siskin Susser, which is amazing.
How'd you get involved in all this with Community Lawyer? What were you doing right before Community Lawyer?
So I took a pretty winding path to it. I am not a technologist. Everybody else on our team has technical skills. So, but I was actually a social impact attorney. I was at the ACLU in Pennsylvania. And my wife finished up in business school, and we moved to New York, the big city. And I thought I was going to apply for a job at ACLU National, which I loved working there. And I saw this like very kind of random job opportunity, and it was for this technology incubator called Blue Ridge Labs. and they were recruiting attorneys to come in and serve as experts to advise some technologists that they were bringing in. And the idea was that out of this incubator, there would be a set of either nonprofits or for-profit companies that would be launched to help address the access to justice gap. You might know some of the other teams that have come out of Blue Ridge Labs, so like Upsolve. They're automating bankruptcy. They came out of Blue Ridge Labs. They sat a desk over from us. Just Fix, which is automating a lot of tenant rights advocacy in New York. They also came out of Blue Ridge Labs, so it's a pretty exciding place to be.
Oh, it's cool that you ran into that.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest surprise by getting in? Said, okay, I'm not going to go the traditional, whether it's ACLU or other traditional law routes, and now I'm involved in this tech company of which I'm not the tech guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest surprise for me is how many of the skills I built as an attorney are applicable in this space. So I thought I was going to have to totally reinvent myself, a total fish out of water, but at the ACLU in particular, you had to think a lot about kind of systemically how would a particular case that we were bringing, how was it going to affect things. So you had to almost, project into the future and say, if we do this, then what's going to happen here, here, and here. And I think product management, which is my primary role.
I was just going to ask you, are you doing product management?
I'm doing all of the above.
You do it all, but
all of the above.
But that's definitely the approach that you're into with product. If we develop it this way, what are we going to get at that point, and that point, and that point?
Yeah.
And if we do a little bit more development here, we won't be facing that issue when we get over to here.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of logic applied to those situations.
There is indeed.
And there are brighter people than me in my company that handle that task. What's been the greatest joy?
I think the greatest joy for us has been, so the way our product works is anyone can go on Community.lawyer and they can just create an account and start building. And so we'll be like totally surprised by just, there's a lawyer in Scotland who's automating power of attorneys in Scotland and has built this like wonderful, robust app. And we had never had a conversation with them. There was no sales. They just found out about us, went on the website, and started building something really powerful.
You're providing that baseline and that platform for them to do that development, and then you're watching this thing blossom into something that only they could have dreamed of, because they're interfacing with the clients in ways that you maybe couldn't have imagined, especially in another country.
Yeah, and that was our thing. Is like we could have either set out to build these automations ourselves, in which case we would have had to start with the federal, you do bankruptcy, you do immigration, maybe
agency,
right? But then beyond that, it's like how do you ever even approach all the complexity of the areas of law in all these different jurisdictions? Well, you can't, and that's why we wanted to build tools to empower lawyers to actually do it themselves.
It's pretty neat. How many people are with the company now?
Yeah, so we're a small team. We've been around for 3 years. There's 4 of us in all.
All in New York or distributed?
All in New York. We believe, even though the salary is a little bit higher if you pay for someone in New York, it's good to be in the same room to kind of have your tribe, and we definitely have our tribe, and
we're going the other route now. I mean, because as we started to expand, we've gone up and down all over the board, and now we're gonna try the Matt Mullenweg approach and go distributed. Although I'm gonna have my office, Melissa likes being there. But I would say very soon we're going to have more people working at home and around the country than in Seattle.
Well, I'm going to have to ask you about how that went, because we're super interested in the idea of remote work, I think, and the tooling for actually having a distributed team has really changed.
Where it hit was I was very skeptic. We need to be in the room. We need to talk. We need to see each other. And then we lost a really talented person. I mean, you can't keep people for 10 11 years, a long time when they've developed honed some skills. I was like, how are we going to find people? And all of a sudden, we've got 3 really talented people. One in Austin, one that lives in a trailer with her husband. That they both have really cool jobs that they pull around with a red pickup truck around the country. And I really want to get her because she's really talented. And believe it or not, there's a lawyer here that has a good law practice. Her husband and her live in a motorhome with 2 kids. Which seemed bizarre, but we just hired head of products. Moved from Denver to Austin, and I'm really excited. I'm not going to meet him until Thursday because he just started 2 weeks ago, and I couldn't believe we were hiring him. So it's the challenge. I mean, your prices are a little bit higher than ours, but ours are pretty damn high.
Yeah.
And so when people come to town, we can't, they start to shop, even though they may want to do certain things. So I'll let you know. What are you guys working on now? I mean, what are you guys most excited about?
So
before I even ask you that,
yeah.
How'd you find each other as a team? I mean, obviously you joined after there was something there. Who was the first person that was working on this?
So the interesting thing about the incubator that we're a part of is you actually come in as individuals. So they bring in 20 people.
So it's like a hack thing.
Yeah, it's I would actually, the best way to think of it, it's sort of like The Bachelor for startups, right? So they get 20 people. You spend about 5 months talking to people across the legal industry, court system, administrators.
Who funds that? Who runs it? Who provides the space? This is a great story.
In New York, it's the Robin Hood Foundation. So they're one of the largest nonprofits in New York. I think they've got an annual budget of like $400 million. And a very small part of that budget goes to their technology incubator, which it just so happened the year I joined was focused around legal tech.
So you come in.
Yeah.
You come in and then get a salary. Or do you come in and basically try to showcase I'm capable of doing things that merit a salary?
Come in. We all get a small salary. Yes, stipend. That's what they call it. So we're all contractors. But yeah, we everybody comes in on a stipend. But everybody's probably taking a little bit of a pay cut coming in. You spend about 3 months, exploring the space and then coming up with ideas, and then you form into teams. And so there were 4 teams that came out of this particular program. I think 3 of them are still operating to this day. And yeah, I feel very fortunate that it worked out. Michael and Toma are the 2 folks that I co-founded Community.lawyer with, and I didn't know them at all before we started. We didn't have an idea at all before we started, but we've been at it for 3 years. We have a great working relationship, and we're really excited about our product.
Who interviewed you guys? Like when you apply, you got to get interviewed, and you're going through this process, because I find this really fascinating.
It's
because the idea that you guys arrive, you have no idea what you might be working on. Somehow form this group. How long did it take from okay, we're here to when we formed the idea and we're going to work on this? What was that?
It was about 3 months.
That's 90 days.
And then we got 2 months to prototype, and then we do a showcase of the prototype, and then they give a little bit of follow-on funding to the teams that they think are particularly
What was
promising.
the interview process like? Did you come through?
Yeah, so the interview process, it's pretty smart. So they have sort of the folks who run the incubator, they each have kind of a domain that they're masters of, right? So they've got a great tech lead. His name's Bill Cromie, and so he interviews all the kind of the techies who are coming in. So our CTO was interviewed by Bill. I was interviewed more by sort of like the design and like industry expert kind of track lead for the Blue Ridge Labs, and then they also have someone who used to be a consultant at Bain, who kind of like more does the interviews with like the business-minded folks.
Right.
So yeah.
How come more people do? I mean, I did not. I mean, I talked to a lot of these companies, but I didn't know that you're all coming out of this one place. It's fascinating.
It is.
And when you think of the relatively small sum of money that's applied to that, the big impact that it can have by leveraging technology and bright and ambitious people. I wish more people hear about it. I intend to, come to New York and talk to you guys, and I don't know if I ever talked to the guys at Upsell or not. I talked to them not on video, but it's all cool stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I actually do think, how like Tinder sort of fixed the market inefficiency of dating, right? It used to be a kind of random happenstance. I hope I get introduced to someone. I think there's something to be said for this idea of the way people find founders traditionally is like you either went to college with them or you both came up at the same company, but that's kind of inefficient. I understand why you'd want to sort of, those teams know each other, they can trust each other, but in our case, we went through an intense process with these people, so we got to know each other very well in a short period of time. So I knew about Michael and Toma before we decided to do this crazy thing and try to launch a company.
How long a time period was from when you first, 90 days is when you actually got a prototype, right? I mean, at some point, or was it 90 days? Was it 90 days when you had to have a prototype up or some
No, 90 days was to pick the team, and then we had 2 more months to prototype.
Okay.
So it's a 5-month
Okay, so you had 90 days to get, hey, we got to get our shit together and get this idea down of something that is going to work.
Yeah.
Because you're working yourself into a job.
You are, yeah. and the best and worst sort of job, so it's...
With a couple other people that you've never met before.
Exactly.
No, but really,
yeah.
And what we're seeing come out of this is some pretty cool, legal tech that is providing greater access to legal services.
Yeah.
Not only access to legal services at the lower end, but what you're describing with the apps is the ability, people that might have the money to consume legal services, but they want that ease.
Yeah.
And the lawyers they need to deliver that to them with apps, like Greg Siskine.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be smart enough to know that, hey, charging by the hour forever could get really old. I would like to have solutions that can charge as they're being used. I think it's great. So the question I stopped you on, though, was what's the thing that you guys are working the hardest on right now as far as getting done?
Yeah, so I mean, I think as a general matter, we're a product first company.
Right.
So we think that, like, if you look at the great products out there, they didn't win because they had a great sales team or they had a great Twitter presence. What they really won by was having a product that really added so much value to their users that those users went out and told other people about it. And so for us, it's taking a really difficult thing, which is a tool that can perform a lot of really complex things. It can compile documents, it can do complex intake, and making it as user friendly as possible, I think, is our core focus. Is like, how do you make that feel like magic and not like work?
And talk about it.
Yeah.
Blog. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but that's how LexBlog was built.
Yeah.
LexBlog was built by, hey, how can we have something that people rave about so they're not moderately satisfied?
Yeah.
And that they still tell other people about it.
Yeah.
And make sure I'm blogging all the time so people know who I am.
Yeah.
So when they contact with a high level of trust, get that word out to what you guys are doing. Because I think it's great. Now I understand. In the beginning, I'm going, why am I getting something to build apps versus getting something that's already completed? But I get it now.
Yeah. I mean, I think the analogy we use a lot is like, if I'm an engineer and I learned I learned the laws of physics and I learned how a bridge holds up, and that applies everywhere. Every jurisdiction I go, physics apply. But as a lawyer, every state I go into, the laws change, and they can be changed again at any moment. And so, how do you create a set of tools that can adapt and allow the people who are on the ground with that expertise to make those changes in real time? And we think you have to empower lawyers. You can't leave it up to the national corporations that do it.
Before there was word processing, we literally cut and pasted the changes.
Yeah.
And once there was word processing, my assistant or the paralegals went in and changed the documents that needed to be changed, and that was about as advanced as it got. But providing the ability for a consumer of legal services to interface with an app is taking it to a whole new level. So it's pretty cool what you're doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
about Community Lawyer.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and really appreciate it.
You bet.